And welcome back to the Tuxes and Tomahawks podcast. I'm Adam Dorito, your soon-to-be new congressman in Congressional District 8 in Colorado. And like I said, I'm changing up this podcast throughout the next year where I'm going to interview real Americans trying to do real American shit because we're just not talking to normal people. And actually, congratulations, AG. This is the 75th episode of this show, and I'm glad to have you back again. AG and I met out there in Las Vegas, and I actually got to tour his shop. He is the CEO of Toehold. And man, you want to talk about rugged American. You know, this whole Mondani stuff, he's talking about we're going to get rid of rugged individualism and replace it with the warmth collectivism. Absolutely not. And AG just blew me away. He's got the small time shop, all handmade, all, down to earth, what America's made about and everything in between. And thank you so much for coming back on the podcast tonight.
What's up, my brother? Congratulations on your run for Congress.
I don't know if that's a congratulations. I've had to, avoid all these death threats and people, calling me a Nazi, which is awesome. But yeah, that's part of it, right? We just need normal people doing normal things to try to save this country. And you as a small business owner who started from the ground up and built this whole empire for yourself all over Instagram, all over social media, all these important people, how was that like for you? Because for people who didn't watch the first interview with you, like, what was it like, leaving your old life and starting off as a small business owner here in the United States?
It happened so gradually that it's almost one of those things you don't even recognize the change. I went when I first started to making like $40 a week, $40 a week, and now we could do millions of dollars a year. So it's a huge contrast, but it happens slow. It happens slow and steady. And the biggest thing wasn't like my what they joke around called a golden ticket idea. I didn't have a golden ticket idea. I just had a psychotic obsession with making something the best, the American way, the best way. It's
Yep.
always been the American ways. Can you make something the best? Everyone else is doing it the cheapest way and outsourcing, and really the dudes who own these other flip-flop companies or shoe companies, none of those guys know how to make anything. They're just going to the bottom line. I'm not going the other direction. Is how tough, how rugged, how durable, how good can we make something? That's the American way, and that's been my goal. And the byproduct of that has been, what you see today. So it was never like, here's my idea, here's my business plan, here's my 5-year goal. Zero of those things. It was just psychotically obsessed with making something the best, and it's still today, almost approaching 9 years later, it's exactly the same way. I'm just psychotically obsessed. Just walked back from the shop where we're just trying to make something, 1% better every single solitary day.
No, and that's the American way, right? It's something that you don't see really often. And especially with like the trades disappearing nowadays, everything's outsourced, everything's sent overseas, everything's done the cheapest way possible, mass marketing. You didn't do that. I mean, like I said, I've literally toured your shop. It's no bigger than my shop in my house, but you're developing a product that's generating millions of dollars a year, and you're developing a quality product that, like, I love the video you have, the strongest man in the world. He can't tear the flip-flop apart. Like, that's just wild. Like, name another product out there that can even do that or even meet that challenge.
That was a surprise to us. My buddy Brian Callanan took a pair. We were messing around the shop trying to pull the thong out because that's how flip flops always break. Is
Mhm.
the thong pulls out, you have to throw them away and grab a new pair. We were trying to break him in my shop, and he just happened to be interviewing him a couple days later. He took off a pair of his flip flops, handed it to him, and tried to get him to break them. I was like, oh my God, they're going to, and they didn't break. They didn't break. And keep in mind, this guy picks up cars, he pulls
Yeah.
planes. This guy's crazy strong. And he's not just strong, he's psychotically competitive.
Mhm.
So he tried everything he could to break him, and he couldn't. And what we did was we just took the one area that is all the strain is directed on, that thong, and we've made it so it's like 1,000-pound tensile strength, something your foot can never. I got videos of me stepping like all the way up to my knee in mud and pulling the flip flop out on my foot. It's perfectly fine. People step on your foot, it's fine. The reason that I did this was I go hunting, hiking,
Mhm.
fishing. I go everywhere in flip flops, and I can't be back, 10 miles, 5 miles, even a couple miles from the car out here in Las Vegas in the desert. You can't be anywhere on that ground, in the desert, in the heat, there's ground cactus, there's thorns, there's scalding hot rocks.
Yeah.
You can it's a absolutely cannot fail product, as far as I'm concerned. I can't be in a place where my flip-flop can break. And we got customers that'll put them on, they'll go all around the world with one pair, and there's zero worries about them breaking.
See, my only question is, did the guys in CAG who took Maduro last night, were they wearing Toehold sandals on the raid? Because that would be the most badass promotional advertisement ever.
We actually have a huge customer base. It's in the military. We have guys
Yeah.
in Delta, SEAL Team 6. We had a customer. Let me figure out how to word this. We had a customer that was in Africa. What's that group in Nigeria? The Boko Raton,
Boko Haram. Yeah.
Boko Haram. They had a picture. It was like chest down, looking down like this, and he had like a flak vest on, his flak jacket, some silkies, like super high up silkies,
Yes.
Toehold flip flops, and he was standing over a dude. He just smoked his head clean open.
Hell yeah.
And but it's one of those expired pictures that expired. I'm like, bro, you got to send that to me. I need that for the collection. He's like, I can't do. I'll get so busted. But that's the type of stuff people are doing in our flip flops.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I got two pairs of yours. I throw them in my kit everywhere I go because they, like I said, they're just flip flops that don't break and deteriorate versus those crappy ones they issue us in the military, right? But they're great for taking your boots off at the end of the day, like doing ruck marches or whatever, just throwing them on and always having a pair of sandals that are just never gonna get destroyed. Like I will have them for the rest of my military career until I retire, and I keep the other one for more formal events because I'm here to party, right? So yeah, you know what? I have an interesting question. So how many times did you fail developing your product? I think that's one thing that people don't understand is that like this doesn't, like you said, this doesn't just come off, right the first time. You're going to fail a million times. What was that failure process like for you, and what was it like reaching that point of perfection?
God, there's kind of two avenues there. There's the avenue where like in the beginning where the product actually, as you're developing it, where the adhesive would come apart and the um the um the leather would wear out too quickly or the tread wouldn't last. Like in the early experimental days,
Hmm.
there was lots of that. And we didn't have money to replace that stuff. We just had to figure it out. But today there's a whole different thing. And this has always existed where to me, everything we make is kind of a failure because my goal is so high that as I send something out, I kind of almost have to be like, we have a it's never good enough mentality, but deep down in my mind, I have to just be like, all right, we got to send this to the customer. But my obsession is always make it better, like psychotically. So I hate every pair we've ever made. I think we just shipped our 10,000th pair. I've hated every single one of them. The next one can always be better and always be better and always be better. And I think that obsession, being really honest, that obsession to make them better is why they're so good. And people will get them and they'll be like, why would you make them any better? But to me, they're like, dude, they're like 10% of what they could be.
So
And then
like,
I'm
what are
talking
some
to
of the things? What are some of the things that you're constantly improving on? Like that, someone who's psychotically obsessed with their own product. What are some of the constant refinements you're always trying to make on your products?
So some of the most current, the most recent ones, we're starting to see flip flops that have been out in the field for 7, 8, some of them 9 years now. Now that our company's been around for a while, and I can see wear marks. I can see
Hmm.
where the salt water's corroded some of the edging, or maybe the salt water has permeated into the adhesive and starts to work up a certain area. So now we could take what we've seen over the years and keep in mind, if somebody has a pair of flip flops for just 2 or 3 years, they're more than happy with especially a guy who wears them a lot. They're more than happy with the results they've gotten out of them. For me, they need to last forever, and
Right.
they won't. It's a wearable item. It's like a car
Hmm.
tire. It won't last forever, but I want it to last. The goal is to try to make it last forever. So we've done stuff like I'll show you a pair here for the people with the camera. So this is a pair of African elephant. This is a bull elephant, and we call this one the red ghost because this particular elephant killed several villagers in Zimbabwe. And they got a depredation tag for it, and the game wardens out there were able to kill it. And then I bought the hide off it. So you can wear something like this. It's actually killed a man before. Now, if you look here, let me try to do this in the camera. If you look here where the thong comes up and curves,
Hmm.
this used to be This used to be a 90-degree angle. And what'll happen
Mm.
is salt water will start to cause a crack, and you'll start to get some splitting here over time. That can't happen now because we've added a rounded edge. We've used a different vegetable tan leather. This leather will mold, shape, and contour to your foot. We have a virtually impossible to break adhesive. The flip flop has a nice amount of flexibility and movement to it, and this leather will contour and shape to your specific foot. The leather on these flip flops is the same type of leather that humans have used for like 6,000 years. It's
Hmm.
called vegetable tan leather, and that's what the lining is underneath here in the internal layer. So if you're just listening to this, there's a layer of elephant leather on top. There's cowhide in the middle, and then a very strong American-made Vibram tread on the bottom, anti-slip, omnidirectional. But that vegetable tan molds and contours and shapes to the user's foot. So if we went back in time and we just landed in um, ancient Greece, or we went to let's say we landed in Rome, and we grabbed a Roman and we looked at like how his shield, the handle in his shield is, his sheath, how the straps that hold up his sword, the straps that hold his helmet in place, that hold his armor in place, that hold his sandals in place. That's all made with vegetable tan leather. The way leather's been made forever. The cowboys, the pirates, the pharaohs, all throughout human history, that's how humans have always done it. It wasn't really until the 70s came along, Nike made it really popular with these synthetics. And then as people started investing in that company, and as people started penny pinching and how can we get more profit, they started bringing in, more like DuPont type stuff, more synthetics, more man-made materials, because you need much less skill to work with that stuff. Also, you get much less waste because you're able to use every square inch of it. Also, it costs nothing for them to produce. So
Hmm.
then we've slowly kind of evolved to where everything nowadays are these synthetic man-made materials, and they suck. They suck for your foot. They suck for longevity. They suck for the environment if you're into that type of stuff. They just suck all the way around. And everyone's trying to make the cheapest thing possible. And very few people are trying to make the best thing possible. This is the result of almost a decade of psychotic obsession at making something the absolute best.
And I also appreciate how you always find the leather that's killed people and just makes it such a more marketable
Oh, it's the
product.
best. It's the best.
So for people who don't know, what is the process of vegetable tanning versus like what the bigger
Hmm.
companies are doing in mass producing
Yeah,
it? Because you sound like vegetables. I'm like, am I rubbing a carrot on this thing? Like, how is this working?
right, exactly. So picture a cowhide, right? You have a cow, you kill it, you skin it. A lot of guys are hunters here. They know what skinning it is. You skin it, and then from that process, you're gonna put it in like a lime bath. You're gonna get all the hair to fall off it. Then you just have like a really slick, squeegee-ish, slimy hide. That's going to go into a vat, a giant whiskey barrel that's like the size of a car, full of tannins. Tannins come from tree bark, from roots, from soil, and that's what the quote vegetable tannins is.
Mm.
And those tannins is a natural organic process that's been around, like I said, for thousands of years, and that preserves the leather in a antimicrobial way that keeps it from decaying, and it keeps it from breaking down. And what it does is just leaves behind the organic material. It takes away like the living organic material and just leaves kind of like the byproduct. Sort of if you're a hunter and you have like a European mount. So you have the skin and you have the flesh and you have the hair. But when you put it through that process, or with beetles or whatever you might do, you're only going to get just the pure white skull afterwards, right?
Right.
So the same thing with the leather, you're taking out all the organic material and just leaving the fiber behind, the strongest part of the fiber. That takes 3 months, 3 months to make one piece of leather. In contrast, you can use chromium, which is super toxic, or they have an aluminum chemical they use too, and you can make a piece of leather in one day. But then having that against your body, you're now leaching those chemicals into your body. And we're not huge on talking about foot health, or we're not huge on talking about chemicals and all that type of stuff. But the reality of it is, you're leaching those chemicals into your body, and they're horribly toxic. Not only to mention that leather sucks. Now, our leather that we use is at the very top. It's the best. Below that is the harsh chemical grade stuff. And then below that is stuff like genuine leather. And a lot of that is similar to like IKEA furniture particle board,
Hmm.
where it's made with wood, but it's a bunch of shredded wood that's kind of pressed together. And modern humans have kind of lost the knowledge of how leather works and how leather is obtained and how leather should be used. That's something that humans had in their kind of repertoire forever. It's as normal and as natural as me and you cooking over a campfire. It's what humans have always done. Um, but the leathers kind of change. So picture like a steak cooking over a campfire. Okay, that's the kind of like as natural as you get with cooking. That's as natural as you get with leather. And then now take a super processed like what's that meat called? Beyond Meat, that
Yeah.
weird
It's like
bullshit fucking
soybean juice.
yeah, that's what like the synthetic materials are in contrast. It's total bullshit. It's crap. And for some people, they don't care. You get a pair of Nikes, for example, right? A pair of Nikes cost them anywhere from $2.5 to $3.5 to make a pair. Now they might throw a crafty name on there like Travis Scott or Michael Jordan, and they can charge you 1,000, $150, $500, $2,000, whatever it is. There's nothing that's bringing that price up other than a fictional scarcity. And the
Right.
reason they have that fiction, they didn't say, "Hey, this is the only fabric we had, so therefore it's this price." They make that artificial fabric and they have enough of that fabric to supply the whole world if they wanted to. It's a
Hmm.
fake scarcity. So with us, you're getting something that's actually gone out and in some cases it's killed a human, in some cases it hasn't, but you're taking a leather from the wild and the leather's hard to get. The American made vegetable tan leather is hard to get. The tread's hard to get. All the materials are super expensive. Then you bring them into the US. You bring in the exotics to the US. Everything else is from here. Then we go through a 550 step handmade process to craft them into the most beautiful footwear, in my opinion, I've ever seen. And you're able to own something like that for under $500, under $1,000, over $1,000, depending on what type of price point you want to hit. And we're not for everybody. $1,000 is
Yeah.
a lot of money for people to spend, but to do it for $1,000 is a testament to how good we are at logistics and strategy and operations. Because something like this should cost well in excess of two, three, $4,000 just
Right.
because of how difficult it is. Like this leather here, if you guys have people watching at home, most human beings have never seen leather like this before.
No.
Not only is it expensive, you've never even seen it before. We've all seen diamonds, we've all seen gold, we've all seen things that we portray as expensive in our society. But if you go to a grocery store, you're going to see every chick will have a diamond ring on. Every dude has a gold necklace. You see gold everywhere. You see diamonds everywhere. They're not really that rare. This leather that we have in our shop, the majority of human beings not only didn't know it existed, they'd never even seen it before. And it's the absolute best of the best on the planet. You don't get better leather.
No, for sure. And I think another thing to this is like the American hand trades. Like we kind of started off this podcast about rugged Americanism, being a rugged American. It's a dying trade. Not a lot of kids are going out there and learning how to cut leather. Not a lot of kids are learning how to stitch this stuff. And when I was in your shop, you were telling me how, yeah, you just like basically started hand sewing stuff together and figuring things out. And then you found some great guys who were working with you who have that skill and craft and the knowledge to do it. How hard is it to find those guys that are so dedicated to the product that you are and really constantly innovating and putting the stuff together? Because like the guys I was talking to, like just like you, they could talk about this stuff for days on end, and just like their skill level is just obscene. Like I can't even comprehend their level of knowledge in this stuff.
So we actually have our shop manager now has been in the boot industry for like 22 years. Super knowledgeable guy. Before him, every single employee I've had, I've trained myself. These guys,
Hmm.
most of our staff has always been jujitsu, military, or MMA guys, always. And we've trained them literally from scratch to do this. And it can take years before they can do every step. I mean, years, and a lot of them during their fighting career, they'll work for us, and then maybe their fighting career is over, and they live back east. They're technically home is back east, but they've been in Vegas, kind of doing their career or whatever for the last few years, and then they move on. But now they have this skill set, this level of detail. The skills they learn with us, as far as the leather work, they'll never utilize it anywhere else in their life. But the attention to detail, they'll use it every single day. Like, we're in a different type of business. So do I do leather work? Yeah, I do all that sort of stuff. But really, I'm in the perfection business. All I can do is be perfect every moment of every single day when it comes to what we're making. Because if we mess up, there's not a second chance. No one's going to die. Like, it's not something like that. But there's not another piece of leather that we can use. That's it. This is our one chance. When we cut it, that's all we got. This one pair of flip flops right here, like this particular cut, it has to be perfect. And if we mess up anywhere along the way, the whole product fails. There's no fixing it and moving forward.
Right.
We dump it and we start over again. So as far as footwear goes, we're deadly serious with what we do. It has to be absolutely perfect, and we cannot make a mistake. 550 steps has to be perfect. And we have a lot of guys ask, hey, can I come work for you? The answer is always going to be no. No one has ever come to me and got a job. I've gone to them and hired them because they're doing something that I've seen. I was like, that guy has a attention to detail that we need, and I'll go out and pursue a person to come work for us. No one's ever came to us and got hired before. And before this, I used to be a manager at Apple. My last job at Apple was a hiring manager. We had like 6,000 applicants a month, 6,000. We had to dwindle it down to like 200, and then we might hire 12 guys, out of that for the whole Southern Nevada. So from the hiring standpoint, I got a lot of experience in that area, and there's certain traits. Whenever I hire anybody at any job, there's two traits I always look for. I don't give a fuck. Like at Apple, I don't give a fuck if you don't know how to use computers. I don't give a fuck if you don't know how to work on leather. None of those things matter to me. There's two skills that I'm looking for. One of them is you have a high level of ambiguity, meaning you have a high level, you have an ability to deal with constant change,
Mm-hmm.
and you have a genuine caring for other people. If you have those two skill sets, I can teach you everything you need, because any problem that we're going to run into along the way, those two attributes will solve it. I used to joke that I could take my 107 person sales team at Apple, and we can leave and we can go sell houses, and we could go sell RVs, and we can go sell anything, because it didn't matter what the product was. It was the interaction, the relationship, and um, the continuity between us and the customer, and just the level of detail that we went through. And with
No,
those
and
two skill sets, you're going to get the best people.
No, and that's super important. It's not something that a lot of people talk about, especially business managers. They're always looking to hire the cheapest guy or somebody who can get this done. But like you said, you never hired anybody that came to you. You're always going out and looking for that. And I think that's a testament to like the American spirit, kind of like how we started this off, is that you're finding people that can adapt, that can be trained, and that can live on this legacy and make sure the company's only successful. But also it teaches them important skills, like you said, like, they move on and they carry on their life, but they're still going to take these skills and it's going to benefit them later. And like I said, I got the black, the elephant ones from you, and like it's just the craftsmanship is unbelievable. Like I said, I love the product; it's amazing. But when I was there, you were importing a brand new machine off of a guy off some guy's trailer when I was there,
Oh yeah.
and you're offloading it. And man, it's kind of, so my dad worked in the embroidery industry in Moonachie, New Jersey back in the day, the embroidery capital of the world before the Chinese came and bought everything. So you remind me a little bit of my dad when it came down to like the exactness of the machines and making sure everything was perfect, so that way the stitching was correct. And I see this machine getting offloaded off the back of this trailer. I'm like, man, that looks exactly like the old shit back in Jersey that was made 100 years ago, because the stuff just doesn't fail. And then you were right there. You were already experimenting on your new products now. Talk about that machine, because I'm sure you're in love with it by now. It's probably up and operational. But like the new products that you're coming out with, because you're not just doing sandals.
Yeah, so I forgot you were here for that. So that machine was a 1948 Landis stitching machine. So, I mean, how long ago is that? 70. I dropped out in seventh grade, so I suck at math. Let's call it 75 years, right?
Sure. Just like the
Let's call it
episode.
75 years. Um, That machine still works great. We've gone through and, cleaned it up and done some things, but a machine that's almost 80 years old still works beautifully because the guys back in those days built things the American way,
Right.
right? And that American way is just make it the best. That's it. Make it the best. It's not light. You seen how heavy it was getting it off that truck.
Yeah, it's like
Um,
four dudes trying to move it like 3 inches.
it's it's heavy, it's strong, it's the best, and it's lasted 80 years because the level of craftsmanship those guys put in. You get a new machine nowadays, you get 5 years out of it. It's toast. It's toast. And does China make good stuff? Yeah, some things China makes are good, but good isn't good enough for America. It needs to be great. And to make something that's going to last forever, not a lot of guys want to go out and try to track down a machine like that. And the
Oh,
guys who have that machine, those are old dudes that were like boot makers that probably retired in the 80s or 90s. They don't have internet, they don't have cell phones. Like you have to find those guys one on one and buy a machine like that from them.
yeah.
And
How'd you even find that machine? Was it like Craigslist or some like newspaper?
it was in this shop in San Diego in the back, and like we called a guy in Idaho who knew another guy, and that guy knew a guy, and it was like a, it was like three go betweens to get that machine. Um, but so that machine is specifically designed for doing Goodyear welts on cowboy boots.
Hmm.
And there's two things that I wear. It's flip flops, and occasionally I'll wear boots. Like if I go to a nice restaurant, I'll put on a pair of cowboy boots. If I go to a wedding, I'll show up in cowboy boots. So why not make cowboy boots also?
Yeah.
And listen, we're the best in the world. No one's even close to us at flip flops. With boots, we're going to make a very, very, very nice boot. But there's some stud boot makers in this world,
Oh, of
right?
course.
Super good. Like there's guys way better than me at making boots. They're not going to be as obsessed as I am, but starting off, we're going to make a really, really, really nice boot. And we got experience in leather, and we got the best leathers already. And we got, our shop manager and stuff like that. But within a few years, we will be the best in the world at making cowboy boots. We'll find the best way to do it. We'll find the techniques that, have been tried and true and tested for 200 years. And we'll produce a product that is absolutely and unequivocally the best in its category.
So have you seen like a different variety in the types of leathers that work better with the cowboy boots versus the sandals, or are they all pliable the same way? Like what types of materials do you prefer on the boots versus your sandals?
There's more stuff that work with cowboy boots than flip flops because with a
Hmm.
boot, you put your foot inside the boot and the leather is on the outside for the most part, right?
Right.
So you can use rattlesnake, you can use python on a boot because you're not standing on it.
Hmm.
If you stand on a piece of if you stand on a piece of snakeskin flip flops, it sucks. I breed snakes also on the side, and people ask if we're going to use them for. I was like, no, snake leather sucks. You can't even give me leather. Like I won't even use it. It sucks for snake. But on boots, it works okay. But the UV light destroys it.
Right.
Nothing's better than elephant. Elephant is, it's almost from another planet. It's soft, it's supple, it's beautiful, and the abrasion resistance on it is crazy. So you've had those black elephant now, and
Yep.
what does the surface look like?
I mean, they're just smooth. Like, you know what I mean? Like they have that slight like grip to them, kind of just like that natural to it, but like
Callus.
yeah,
Callus.
yeah, exactly. But it's like it's unreal because I've had older leather flip flops, in the past that like reef sandals or something like that or
Mhm.
rainbows, and just not even in comparison. It's a completely different planet. And like you said, it does take some time to break them in. You got to let that foot mold, to the leather. But like man, once you got them set, man, it's just like set it and forget it.
It's and that's one of the things we lost. It's almost like if you have a propane fire, you turn it on, you're cooking in minutes. If you have a charcoal fire, it's going to take time to get that fire up to temperature, but that fire is going to be a better fire, right? It's
Yeah.
like that with the leather we use. When you get your flip flops, you might wear them around the house, 5 or 6 times that day for maybe 20-minute increments. And all you're doing is you're letting the heat, the oil, the moisture, the weight kind of contour and shape that leather. That leather is much stronger than the skin of your foot. So you want to give it time to break
Right.
in, walk away, let it break in, walk away. And what that leather is doing is it's taking on the contours and shape of your specific foot. So now when you walk, and it's not just with our flip flops, It's with vegetable tan shoes, vegetable tan boots, anything that's vegetable tan for your foot, or period. Let's say you had a gun holster, like a cowboy gun holster. You wear that for a week or two and you get that gun in that holster, and in no time it's going to fit perfectly. It's going to come out exactly at the speed you want to. It's going to sit in there exactly the way you want to. And all the leather has done is you just given it time to mold and contour. And leather, fine woodworking, fine beef, those are all backbones. Fine whiskey making, those are all backbones, of American culture. And you don't get much older than being working with leather. It's one of the oldest like skills traits that we have. Woodworking, it dates way back before metalworking. It dates way back,
Well,
way back.
I think Americans has just become impatient, right? And I think something that's different about your product is that like Americans want it now. They want it broken in now. They want to buy broken in jeans. They want to buy broken in jackets. And I think there's actually an interesting argument about the Carhartt situation going on. Like all these kids going out and buying Carhartt because they like the fashion of it. And then all the guys who wear this shit for like years are like, hey, no, we don't want them to sell it to you broken in because it's a cheaper quality material. When I get that canvas jacket, it takes me like 5 years to break that canvas jacket and it's going to last me 40 years. Right. And it's like, they don't want to, reduce the quality of their product just for a market base. And I don't think that you do that either. Right. Like you're just like, no, we're not going to buy a cheaper, softer leather because it breaks in faster for the customer. Like we want to keep it the right original way to make sure that this lasts forever.
Does Carhartt sponsor this podcast?
No, they don't. It was just something that I
Okay,
just
good.
that thought in the back of my. If
So
they want to,
remember,
they can go to my Congress website on the bottom and throw me all the money you want. Because all the guys I work with, we work Carhartt FR, all that stuff. But yeah, we it takes a while to break that shit in, but it's indestructible. When I drop a pipe wrench or whatever on it, I'm not tearing
yeah,
the sleeves out of like the cheaper Bulwark Chinese FR
you,
stuff. So
we might need to look this up, maybe offline. But I remember during COVID, Carhartt took a lot of shit because they were making their staff get vaccinated. Remember?
yeah,
Everyone called them a bunch of liberal fags for doing that. My words, not yours. My words.
that's fine.
You know what I mean? So I stopped wearing their stuff after COVID.
Yeah, I mean, the only stuff I still have left, and like I still have my outerwear from the rigs and stuff, because literally had it for 8 years on a drilling rig field and on pads, and like just
Mm-hmm.
it never got destroyed.
Tough stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it's super tough. But when you get that brand new jacket, you almost have to like break it and fold it because it's so hard. That canvas
Yeah.
duct is super hard.
Here's a little fun fact. So when you see a nice Louis Vuitton bag, you see the
Hmm.
monograms on the side. You use the brown one. That's a beautiful, strong piece of canvas that's been dipped in rubber and then monogrammed on the side. A lot of guys think that's leather. That's not leather. That's
Interesting.
rubber infused canvas. Really nice stuff. Really durable stuff. But again, they can make a trillion yards of it if they wanted to. You
Yeah.
know, it's a man-made product that doesn't cost much to make. It's canvas and rubber. It's durable. It's very durable. But again, it's not leather.
Yeah, and speaking of like American ingenuity, tell me about that painting behind you because it's badass. Like, where did you get that? Who made that? I'm like, what is this?
Greg Orton. So he's done a lot of pieces for Rogan, for Black Rifle Coffee.
Hmm.
Incredible artist. I think I have 4 pieces from him. That thing's big too. It's quite a ways behind me. I think that's pictures like 6 feet, over 6 feet tall. It's taller than me.
Wow.
It's beautiful done. So he does all kind of Native American type stuff,
Hmm.
and you can look him up on Instagram. Crazy, crazy detail. Crazy detail.
No, that's really cool. So with the cowboy boots, like obviously, how long is it gonna take? Somebody goes and puts an order in. Like, what's their wait time? Because I mean, even your sandals are a significant amount of wait time, but the boots are like way more involved than just your
Yeah,
sandals.
so the boots, we're gonna probably be in production probably the end of February. We'll start making them. Our customers, and we weren't gonna take any orders until we had everything up and running. Our customers made me start a list, and they made me start taking orders. So we got an order for almost a little bit over 50 right now probably, and
Yeah.
guys started paying full price in September, months and months ahead of time, because they already know what we're going to produce. They know the quality, they know how we stand behind our product. And I purposely don't have a warranty on our stuff because a warranty limits you to what you can do, right?
Right.
you know hey Adam, your dog chewed the flip flops. We're sorry. Like, that's not covered under warranty, right?
Mhm.
The amount of people that send their flip flops back because their dogs chewed them and we just fix them and send them back for free. Now, if we had that written, someone's going to be like, I want some new straps. Let's try to get my dog to chew them up. And then they're going to kind of exploit the system. We just do whatever we want, whatever we feel is right for the customer,
Yeah.
and we've had dogs chew up flip flops before, and dudes are super upset at their dog, and they're like, "Is there any way you could fix them?" I tell them, "Send them back. Let me take a look at it. I'll send you a quote. We'll fix them." Or sometimes they're able to be fixed a little bit, or brand new straps, or we just ship them a brand new pair for free. But we can do that because we don't have a warranty.
Yeah. And
It's
not
that
many
it's
American
that
companies
level
do
of.
that anymore. They just don't. Like, there's so many
Now,
companies that just don't do that.
there's this crazy thing, and I noticed this a long time ago, where a company's going to advertise to you, and they're advertising you saying, "Hey, I exist. Buy stuff. Buy from me." That's what advertising is. Here's what we do. Here's who we are. Buy stuff from me. And a lot of times, okay, I got the money. I'll buy it on your advertising. I want to buy something. I have a question. And they're not there to answer your question, right? There's no
Mhm.
way to contact them. You would not believe like the amount of times we just joke about this. I want to buy some enclosures for I want to put a big display on this side of a big beautiful snake. I want to put a display. It's probably going to cost me $2,000. Good luck getting a hold of any of those guys that make that stuff. Good luck. They don't respond. They're slow. They'll show you something on Instagram, and this goes for anybody that owns a business. If you're in the military and you're getting out, and you want to start any one of these businesses that people start when they get out. This is the most important thing. You have to have quick and concise communication with your customer. The number one thing.
Agreed.
But what do we learn nowadays from watching social media? I want to delegate everything. I want to automate everything. Go ahead and watch how bad your business sucks when you do that. Watch,
Yeah.
we have a philosophy that's best man for the job. We put our best man forward. So if the best representative of the company is me, then I have to be the one that talks to customers. So what do I have to do I have to, you get normally what you'll do is, well, I'm the CEO, I'm busy. We'll have an intern talk to our customers. Are you fucking kidding me? That's the worst person ever. Have that intern do some bullshit thing in the back, and then you go and talk to your customers. Whatever's keeping you from engaging with your customers, hire somebody to get to do that job, right? I need to sit down with
100%.
my accountants. Somebody else can sit down with my accountants. You know what I mean? I'll have my girl do it, or an assistant, or somebody else is going to sit down with that accountant. It's not going to be me. I don't got time for that shit. I need to deal with customers. You know what I mean?
No, and that goes back to like your philosophy in hiring, right? Is that your ability to like work with people and be able to talk to people and communicate. It's super important. It's actually something I've learned more running for Congress now, right? Is when people reach out to me, they have questions about constituent issues or whatever else. They want to talk to me. They don't want to talk to some
Exactly.
22-year-old staffer. They don't want to talk to
Exactly.
some consultant. So when people message me on Instagram or X or, YouTube or Instagram or Facebook or whatever it is, 99% of the time you're talking to me or my campaign manager who's sitting right next to me like 95% of the time, and it's coming directly from me. The only time like they're responding for me is if I'm driving so I don't kill both of us while we're driving to the next event. I'm like, yeah, tell them XYZ or contact me. When people call the phone, they want to talk to me. Just like, when they reach out to you, they want to talk to you. It's like, it's kind of funny. People are like, I'm gonna send a message to Toehold on Instagram, and it's you that's responding, right? It's not some like
And I'm
rando AI
responding right
generated
away.
bullshit.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah, and
responding
that's
right away.
yeah, it's super important though, because I think that's what's missing from a lot of these American companies or just like businesses in general is that like that real human connectedness, and that's what differentiates Americans and American companies from everything else and all these politicians that have been ruining everything else. And we kind of talked about it a little bit, but you're importing exotic leathers and you're doing all these things. Like, what are some of the things that you've seen maybe on the government side, like from tariffs or taxes, or that have affected your business, and how have you been able to mitigate that running a small exclusive company?
So the tariffs, obviously, anything we bring in overseas, which is only the exotics, they're coming in from Africa, South Africa, and Zimbabwe. We'll get hit with tariffs on the way over. So the exotic leathers are always expensive. They've gone up a little bit, and then on the domestic side, the EPA regulations have dropped a little bit with some of the
Hmm.
tanneries. So the tan that we buy from two tanneries in the U.S. Both of them date back to like the mid 1800s. So they're old as shit, right? And they're still using like big belt, like steam engine belt type. They're doing stuff the way they've done it since the 1800s. A little bit of
Super cool.
modernization, but not much. Um, those guys have been able to produce leather, and it's cost them a little bit less because EPA is not so far up their ass. And that's passed on to us. And we've passed it on to the customer. But so the leathers kind of canceled each other out. The government side doesn't. I'm so weird. I don't let anything affect me. I
Yeah.
always joke that if they made leather, like if they outlawed leather and they outlawed flip flops, I would still sell flip flops. I'd be the biggest flip flop,
Independent
lord
insurgent.
that there would be, because I'm going to make them no matter what.
Right.
My obsession's not going to stop, whether people buy them or not. You know, my obsession is still there. Remember in the beginning, the obsession was just to make it for myself, and then a guy
Right.
would ask for a pair, and another guy, and I'd be like, nah, these aren't for you. And it's kind of been like that all the way to this day. If I meet somebody and they're like kind of a jerk, I won't sell them flip flops. They could go buy from somebody else. If they're a liberal, I absolutely will not sell them flip flops. Will not whatsoever.
Some of the fights
We're
that you get on your Instagram stories are so funny.
We're an exclusively Republican product.
No, it's. I mean, I don't see anyone on that side of the house, trying to actually support American businesses or bringing back that individualism, like where they're making a really good quality product. I mean, the only one I can think of off the top of my head is like, well, Ben and Jerry's, and they made ice cream, and even they jumped off the camp on everything for the most part, and it's fucking ice cream. Who cares? You know what I mean? Go out and run. You don't need all the ice cream.
So
Sure.
I'm fascinated by this. So, when somebody decides to run for Congress, Senate, political office, whatever it is, I know there's some forms you have to fill out, right, to be like officially on the ballot.
Yeah.
And you've obviously not been elected before, to a position.
Nope.
So there's going to be all kinds of brand new stuff. That's stuff that super excites me. I nerd out. I nerd out on logistics. So have you had any friends, or have you talked to anybody that's like, or have you interviewed anybody that says, okay, you win the election, the next day this happens? Like, what does it look like from winning to getting to, what's the next process? You fill out more paperwork. Do you have any idea what that journey looks like?
Not really. I mean, so for me, it's like, what my accusations to me have been like, well, you've never been a city mayor. You've never sat on like councils or whatever. And I sat there and went, right. And that's the problem, is that people think that there's this like process that you have to wait 10, 20 years to be in elected office, never mind high elected office like in federal Congress. And really, you just got to fill out the Form 1 on the FEC website and hit submit, and some people do that. But for me, nobody's made any promises to me. I'm still kind of an unknown in the national perspective outside of veteran work, but for me, I'm trying to attract the oil and gas workers and the small, industry people to be like, hey, I know the guy that I'm running against and everyone else before them has promised you the world, but I'm not here to lie to you. Like, I work in your industry. I am one of you. I'm a steel toe boot wearing hard hat guy. And for me, it's like, this is why I ask the questions to business owners, like, what are things that are actually affecting you? Because when was the last time your congressman called you AG? Probably never. You know what I mean? Like, they're not having the real conversations and not having that human connection. And I think that's what's missing from our government, what's screwing everything up. For me, if it was up to me, if I want to get sponsored by Toehold for this election, I'll just wear my flip-flops on day one in Congress. It's like a Fetterman with a sweatshirt. That would be hilarious. But it's not out of the realm. It's business owners, I think, in my opinion, have been duped for so long. When Congress comes and they promise this, they're going to lower taxes, this, and it's all just fluff and made up stuff. The problem is most people I talk to in Congress aren't actually that knowledgeable on things. There's a few exceptions. There's a few good ones out there. But for the most part, when I talk to guys in my state, they have no idea what's going on with oil and gas. They have no idea what's going on with water rights. They have no idea what's going on in the farming and ranching industry. They've never done it, but they want to talk about it. And they want to sit there and promise, oh, we're going to reduce this regulation, or we're going to do this. And then they don't. I think the best example of that was Lauren Boebert. She recently sponsored a water pipeline project that was been going on since 1962, HR 131, and the Trump administration vetoed it. And the reason is because they wanted $350 million to build a 131-mile, 8-inch pipeline. You know what I mean? Like, bridge to nowhere, waste of taxpayer money. And they wanted to come out and say, well, this is retaliation for me wanting to expose the Epstein files or the Tina Peters voting fraud incident. It had nothing to do with that. It's viability. This guy's built skyscrapers in New York City. And when there's other solutions out there, like building a centralized water treatment facility, which is what I would do because I work in professional licensing for water cleaning in the state for refineries, right? But the problem is they just don't have this level of expertise. And this is why I love talking to small business owners. And like even last week, I went out and spoke to the ranchers out here. They've had 58,000 head of cattle stolen from them this year. That's millions of dollars. Million, especially when you're selling 10 to 15,000 a head, right? And they have no idea where they're going. They don't know if the cartels are doing it or the aliens or whatever is out there. But when not a single elected official goes up there to support these guys on a Q&A session with the brand inspector of the state, it makes them wonder, like, do these people really care about us? Because cattle ranching, like the meat we had when we were down there at one of your restaurants, right? That's all American source stuff. Like that is the highest quality meat you're going to get. But when these guys are losing their livelihoods and what their families have grown for over 100 years, and the government who protects that industry, because farming and ranching, critical infrastructure, it's a national security, food sovereignty issue, isn't even showing up to these meetings, but I am. That means something. And I'm sure if you had something that was really affecting your industry, whether it was some kind of other EPA regulation or an import thing or whatever else it is, you would expect to at least talk to somebody who's running for office who actually is receptive, has some kind of level of knowledge of what's going on, and then you would support that candidate moving forward. And that's the biggest problem. That's why I tell guys like you should go run for office. You're a normal guy. We need more normal people in office, and that's what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to be a normal guy that just wants to help my fellow Americans and my neighbors do what they need to do.
I don't even have a GED. I'd probably be the worst person for.
It's probably better than Jasmine Crockett.
So when they have a district, is it? I know it's bigger than like a county, so it's an area of the state.
Yep.
Right. Where specifically is your area at?
So I'm in the newest district. It's actually the most contentious congressional district in the United States. It's called District 8, and it has a little bit of North Denver, North Metro area. It goes all the way up to Fort Collins, right on the highway, and then it goes over into farming and ranch land bordering District 4, which is Lauren Boebert's district. So 80% of it is oil and gas, agricultural land, and then the 20% of it is heavy, densely populated outside suburbia of Denver. And it used to be all District 4, but when I was deployed overseas to the Middle East, I came back, and due to population and gerrymandering, what the Democrats wanted to do, they gerrymandered this new district in there to try to override the Republican vote. And they did that successfully with Yadira Caravello, and then she was ousted by Gabe Evans, who's the guy I'm going against. But if I don't run against this guy, he's going to lose. He's had very poor decision-making process in his district, even though it's very 50-50, it's very purple. But the problem is that we don't want to give it back to the Democrats, because if we do that, we're going to lose our House majority. And then for the next 2 years under Trump, we're not going to pass anything if we lose this district to the Democrats, which is why I decided to step up. It's a moral, ethical responsibility going, like, if I don't stand up for this, then we're going to lose the oil and gas jobs. These farmers and ranchers are going to get screwed. And if this guy doesn't want to do the job, then I will. I'll go against the Democrats all day out here. It's nothing for me. So.
And what do they call it? The incumbent, the person who's already in office, right?
Yep, the incumbent.
Who's the incumbent now? Is it a Democrat or a Republican?
It's a Republican. His name is Gabe Evans, but he is going to lose to the Democrat based upon his polling numbers and his decision to not criminalize transgender surgeries of children, which I think even most reasonable Democrats would agree, hey, don't touch the kids under the age of 18, and we've lost thousands of oil and gas jobs, but he came out swinging when he ran, and I supported the guy. I voted for him the first time. Nothing against him. He's an Army veteran. He was a former cop, and but he's not delivering what he promised. He said, I'm here for the oil and gas workers and the farmers and ranchers and the blue collar workers. And we're like, okay, well, we lost all our jobs. We're getting regulated out of existence, and we're missing 58,000 head of cattle. So what are you doing about it? And his answer is, I'm here to stay in the seat. We're like, yeah, no.
Re-elect me. I'll fix it next time.
Yeah, I promise. This time I'll do it. Right? It's okay to replace people.
Is it the Republicans will back who they think's going to win? Then if it shifts, they'll switch to the other guy. Is it kind of?
And that's what I'm experiencing now. Right? For me, I'm technically an unknown. I believe that I'm a much better candidate, especially based upon my interviews and people that I've talked to. But right now, this guy's got $4 million in the bank. He's already been sitting in the seat, and the Republicans want to keep the seat. They're not very happy with him, though, according to my sources in D.C. So until I can show viability, until I can raise a decent amount of money up front by myself, then they'll go, oh, okay, never mind. This guy has a better chance of holding the seat, and then they'll switch alliances. But until I cross that threshold, for now, I just talk to normal people and try to convince everybody to give me as much money as they can. So, because I'm not funded. I'm not funded by special interests. I'm just funded by people like, every day that, go to work with me every day. So,
My buddy Derek Wolf, Super Bowl champion from with the Broncos. He's out in Denver. I'll put you guys together, and you guys can maybe do some stuff. He has a cool podcast. You guys can
yeah, no,
maybe
I'd love
follow.
to talk to Derek. I love that connection. I appreciate that. But
He's been
like
doing
I
stuff.
said,
You know,
I know who he is. I've just never met him before. He is a big podcaster out here. It would be an honor to get on his show and talk to him. But I think Derek is on the same lines as me on these things. Super Bowl champion, big hunter guy out there for the regular everyday Colorado. And I think he's seeing this state slip away day by day. And yeah, he's making a big impact in talking to people. But there's a difference between talking to people and then putting people into office that are actually going to support those people. And that's what I'm trying to do.
Colorado is not a state. If you didn't know politics, you wouldn't look at Colorado and think that it's become just a fucking liberal cesspool. You know what I mean?
And
Like
it
you would
wasn't
think
like
it would.
that.
Colorado seems like it'd be more country than even Texas. And let me throw a warning out there to your listeners, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Somebody who grew up in California, okay? California was the most and still is one of the most Republican places in the country. Okay. Anything you picture like Texas as being a stronghold, Colorado, California is way better than that. Bigger ranches, more Republicans, more innovation, all that type of stuff. There's just so many more liberals. And the way it happened was the state it's a red state, right? But they lost San Francisco back in like the 60s and 70s, the whole
Hmm.
hippies thing. And it slowly has declined ever since then. And the same thing's going to happen in Texas. They lost Austin, and the whole state will start to fall slowly but surely. All they need to do is get a stronghold like cancer, right?
Right.
Growing up in San Diego, we used to park our truck on the beach. We would bonfire. You could drink beer. You can fish all night. You can camp. You can do whatever you want to do. Nowadays, 10 p.m., get the fuck off the beach. You can't do anything. No bonfires, no cooking, no glass, no alcohol, no fish, no nothing. They've just slowly and surely made it worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. The
And
whole
that's
way
and
through.
that's what I saw even when Reagan did when he did the asylum issue back when he was president. That really screwed over California because it shifted their voting base down there, putting a bunch of illegal immigrants, giving them automatic asylum, and then they went to the Democratic base, which flipped a lot of their votes, and then concentrated in areas like San Francisco. And I will say the same thing kind of happened out here. I moved out here in 2006, and it was a very red state for the most part. The only liberal areas was Denver and Boulder. Everyone left them alone. I was like, yeah, you guys keep to yourselves and your drum circles, like literally South Park, like season 6, episode 6, the die hippie die. It's like Cartman tries to take away the drum circle from Hippie Jam Fest 2009, and that was the joke. Nobody thought them as a threat. But then since I've been out here, now it's 2026. I don't recognize what state I live in anymore. And I progressively moved to the most conservative county in the state. I moved to Weld County, the Republican stronghold, where no one messes with the oil and gas workers and farmers and ranchers. Next thing I know, we're all losing our jobs. Next thing I know, all the companies I used to work for are closing up. And I'm like, what are we doing out here? Like, I thought we were, we're going to stop this. Then you find out that some of the Republicans, like, I didn't even get involved in local politics until like 2 years ago. I did all my federal stuff and veteran stuff for years, and that is what it is. But I started asking questions. I'm like, why are my property taxes going up again this year? I thought we were like cash free, no debt county, everything paid for in oil and gas. And then I find out, oh, we lost like almost 100% of our revenue in oil and gas because these guys packed up and went to Oklahoma and Texas and left because we lost all the jobs. So now the only way the county can make money is to raise your taxes or put another fee on your license plate. And now we're going to strangle everything with emissions and written by people who've never worked in the industry. They just make this stuff up. Right. So for me, it's like we need to remove even some of these Republicans who they claim to be Republicans. They claim to fight for these people. But I'm sorry, but your scorecard's not doing real well. But they promise us if you elect us one more time, AJ, one more time, we're going to fix the issue. Just keep us in power. And I
Yeah.
sat there and went, you know what? No, I'm not going to sit here and wait anymore. I'm going to go run. I'm going to do what you said you were going to do. And you know what, AG, you know what? If I fail, you do? You fire me and replace me with something better. And that's what you should be doing. That's why the House of Representatives elections are every 2 years. If they're not doing their job, you're supposed to fire them, not keep them in there like Nancy Pelosi for 40 years because they have a D next or an R next to their name, depending on who they are.
Yeah, I agree. I'm looking forward to what you're going to do in Washington. You have a good character, smart
Thank
guy,
you.
you represent the people, and you're not bought by anybody. That's the important part.
Hell no, I'm not. But I would wear Toehold sandals in Congress just to mess with them. Like it's like that with that scene in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia when they steal Frank's credit card and they get the limo and the tuxedos and they're just like, oh, someone's addicted to crack and they're just driving around. Like that's what I would do. I would just show up and be like, this is all fanfare. This is all made up. That none of this is real. You just need people who have the guts and who are bold, proven, and principled that just going to go in there and vote for their constituents because that's what they hired you to do with no BS. I'm not bought out by anybody. And honestly, they make 175 grand a year. It's a little bit of a pay raise from what I'm making now in the oil field. You want to know, I can survive off that. I live in a 1,300 square foot house I built by myself on 12 acres of land. I'm perfectly happy with that. I don't need anything else. I just need people to lower my taxes and stop taking away my job.
I spent more than that in dinners last year.
One day maybe I'll get to that level of awesomeness, AG. When I'm done with all this government stuff and I can retire and come up with I don't know. I'll make handmade something.
My
No, it's
accountant
great.
was so ashamed of me when she's like, "You spent $200,000 on dinner last year."
Well, the
Like,
places you go, I don't doubt it, man. I mean, it's phenomenal food that you have out there in Las Vegas. Like, it's one of the best places to get food in the world. I'd say probably next to New York City, obviously. In New York City, you can get some damn good food from all around the world out there too. But no, I really
the cool thing
appreciated
in
you.
Vegas is you can just get juiced in. You can go to a
Yeah,
place. It doesn't matter what time it is or how busy it is, or you just text a GM. He's like, "Yeah, come on in. I got a table for you." I'm sure in New York they got it like that, but it's more the norm out here. If you're
yeah, because it's
local
more
and you're
business
spending money,
oriented. You got vendors and everything constantly moving in and out of the city all the time in
and
Vegas.
a lot of guys are going to go to a restaurant and drop a big check, but
Yeah,
we always take really good care of the staff. That's the big part.
taking
Because
care of people is important.
the GM wants to have the best people working for him. That's what's going to keep people coming in. So we tip them well. They make more. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's a
100%.
big it's a big scratch my back. I'll scratch yours.
No, but and that's a perfect example of one, what you're doing as a small business owner that's been massively successful, and two, what I'm trying to do for Congress is just take care of your people. If you take care of your people, they take care of you, right? You don't need to be bought out by one or two things. Like I said, are you going to double the size of your expansion and start tripling and quadrupling your production for money? I'm going to argue probably not. You're probably going to keep operations the way they are because you're controlling the process. You're doing exactly the way you want it to do, and you don't want to lose that quality because that's what it means something to your customers. And I think we need to bring that back to Congress too, is really focus on the actual issues, keep that high quality, be the best that you possibly can be, and don't be a sellout selling synthetic Nikes for $2.50.
I agree. I agree.
So
And
closing thoughts, AG. You're a small business owner. You're the rugged American. You're the type of person I'm trying to represent, and try to take care of the American people. What is some advice you got out there for guys who are or gals who are trying to start a business or they don't know what to do or they don't know what the first step to take? How did you make your decision to do your stuff, and what advice would you give them?
yeah, there's a couple different things. Is one, whatever you do, try to be the best at it, the absolute best. There's a whole segment of people that are numbers guys, right? This might take a second to get it all out, but
Yeah,
there's
take your
guys that
time.
are really good at numbers and analytics. I'm not one of those guys, right? I can't. We've had a lot of guys approach us over the years about investing in Toehold. A lot of guys,
Sure.
foreign and domestic. We've had some Saudis reach out. We've had guys in the U.S. reach out, and they can write us big checks, right? But there's something, and they could operationally run a business. I'll give you an example. When I worked for Apple, I used to work for Steve Jobs, the biggest company in the world, right? The high and most valuable company in the world, and you got the guys running it nowadays, and these guys fucking suck, right? Steve was a different person. He was only looking at making things the best. You get these analytical guys, these numbers guys, things like that. Those guys always fuck everything up, right? There's one thing that Toehold has that these other companies don't have is I can make a company cool. Our company is cool as fuck, right?
Yeah.
I can't sit there and tell you every cost analysis because I don't give a fuck. Our goal is to make the best products. We're funny about doing it. We make fun of liberals. Our Instagram is nothing but just tits, right? You almost never see our products. It's hilarious. If I showed you flip-flops all day, eventually you'll be like, yeah, flip-flops, I get it. But you'll almost never see flip-flops on our page. You're only going to see hot chicks because nobody gets tired of hot chicks. And if you're the type of person that gets tired of hot chicks, we don't want you as our customer. But if you're a guy or a girl and you're just getting out of the military, or you're just graduating school, or you want to do anything, first decide what it is you want to do. And then you have to decide to be the best at it, right?
Mhm.
You have to be the absolute best. Be psychotically obsessed with it. Don't casually do it, right? You can do things that you can. We've seen a lot of guys casually do things, and they're good for 3 or 4 or 5 years, and they just fall out, right? They disappear. You have to first be the best at it. Then you obviously have to be psychotically obsessed. But then, as far as growing your company, your product, and this is how I look at it, we make the best flip flop in the world. That gets us 0 accolades. It's worth nothing, right? You should never buy our product because it's simply the best. It's all the other things you do, the above and beyond, the great customer service, the good marketing, all that type of stuff. Those are the things that set you apart. The best product just gets you to the field. Now you have to use everything else to be competitive. So any company you have, half your company has to be marketing, has to be branding. If you suck at branding and marketing, you're probably not going to be successful. You got great companies like Montana Knife Company, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
World-class knife making, but his business partner is a world-class marketer. Those two guys together make a multi-million-dollar company. You can make the best product in the world, and if nobody knows about it, it's not going to go anywhere. You can be the best political candidate in the world, but if nobody knows about it, it's not going to go anywhere. You can be the worst candidate in the world, and you have a huge budget behind them, like fucking Gavin Newsom and these other guys.
Yep.
Everyone's going to know who you are, right?
Yep.
So people have to know who you are, and then the customers will come. That's a gigantic component. But having a psychotic obsession to be the best is the American way, right?
Yeah.
And if you want to make things in America and you want to hold that standard, I get upset when guys put that sacred badge that is made in America on their products, and their product sucks. I get mad. I get fucking mad.
Yeah.
Because when you take a product and it's made in America, you should be able to send that product, whatever it is, you should be able to send it around the world, give it to the Russians, give it to the Chinese, give it to all these countries, let their scientists and their experts look at it. Those guys should scratch their head and be like, we can't make it any better. We could copy it, but we can't make it any better. And that should be the standard for everything we do as Americans. And as long as we got guys that are doing that, we'll continue to be the best. And if we got guys racing to the bottom, we'll be the worst. That's it. You just have to strive to constantly be the best psychotically. Sacrifice your free time, sacrifice your Saturday nights, sacrifice everything you're doing just to solely be the best. When I make something, I know that we're not only representing me, we're representing my brand, but we're representing the United States of America, because every one of our products is made in America on it.
No, and that's awesome. And like I said, the same thing kind of goes for politics. Be the best at what you do, right? You elect the best people, right? You want the best products. You need the best people that support you and support your industries. Hopefully that's what I'm trying to do here. But you're right. It's like not many people know who I am. I gotta find your marketer. I gotta like talk to them or something like that. Just start doing Instagram stories.
Ideas. You want the whole world to know who you are?
Yeah, I do. As long as it's moral and ethical. We'll talk offline about that. But yeah, no, I appreciate you coming on the show, man. You're a great friend of mine. I consider you a close friend out here in the worlds, in the environments that we operate in. And I can't wait to come out to Vegas and see you again. I got to go do some things for a couple weeks, but springtime I'll head back out there and we'll hang out and grab some steaks again.
Right on, my brother. I'm excited to see you.
Yeah, cool. All right, hang on for a minute as I end the show. But hey, this has been Adam Dorito and AG from Toehold, CEO of the best sandal and soon-to-be cowboy boot company in the world. And we'll see you next time.